Welcome to another episode of News of the Week. Now, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but I am aware that there has been numerous rumor of how the season is going to restart once this MLS is back tournament is going to be finished. And that the most notable rumor that I have heard is that they are going to have 18 regular season game after this tournament is over. And the Canadian team is going to be playing against each other 3 times in a total of 6 games, and that the reason why they do this is because the Canadian government don't want their sports team to try to cross across the borders to play away games and then come back into their market fearing that they might carry the coronavirus when they were there in the US and carry it back to Canada. Now, again, that is just a rumor, and there is no confirmation whatsoever from the league saying if that is actually the format they are going to go. So, until then, I'm just going to sit tight and see what happened, and that this also kind of give me a point to talk about tomorrow's video, where tomorrow I will do a video where I'm going to bring my proposal of how the league is going to restart the season, and that a little sneak peek in terms of how I feel like the league need to restart the season after this tournament is over is to once again play in a bubble. I mean, it is pretty clear that when you see all these leagues that is not playing in the bubble, like the MLB and the USL is doing, they are having a lot of problem in terms of trying to contain this coronavirus, and that there's a lot of players that it has been getting tested positive for this virus because of the fact that they're not playing in a bubble. Now, moving away from the whole COVID-19 talk, the only signing from this week was Atlanta United, who continued their Liga MX kind of raid by signing another Liga MX player by signing Kubo Torres from Tijuana. Now, this move obviously feels like a move that I think Atlanta clearly need to make, and in some way, it's kind of a desperation move from them. Like, they clearly need a number 9 that is going to be there to score the goals for them. And knowing the fact that I think a couple of days before this announcement of Kubo Torres coming back to MLS and sign with Atlanta United, Joseph Martinez is done for the season and he will not return until next season. And knowing the fact that Atlanta, after what we saw in this tournament without Joseph Martinez and how they have just no goal scoring threat going up top, they were getting desperate in terms of trying to getting someone that will be a temporary kind of replacement for Joseph Martinez before he comes back next season. And I feel like Kubo Torres is a good answer. I mean, I remember when he was with Houston, he did very decently, and I don't understand why the Dynamo eventually kind of got rid of him and decided to sell him to Liga MX. But we'll see whether or not if he can rediscover that form that he had in Houston in Atlanta. And that, keep in mind, I feel like one of the things that people need to also understand is that just because players that used to do well in MLS or even do well in the USL doesn't mean it always transition when they do go to a new team. And that's the reason why when they signed Adam John, I think earlier this season that Atlanta United did, that was kind of a very interesting and kind of a strange move, because I know Adam John has done well in the USL, but how many times we have seen USL players that do well in that league, and when they do come to MLS, we usually don't see a lot of them that actually transition to a player that they were in USL compared to them in MLS. And in many ways, some of those players they just never look like the same, and that most of them actually struggle when they come to MLS. So yeah, we'll see how Kubo Torres will do for Atlanta once the season, of course, is gonna be restarted, and see whether or not if he's going to at least, I wouldn't say he will take 100% of the load off of Joseph Martinez, but at least be half as productive as what Joseph Martinez mean to this Atlanta United team. Now, jumping into kind of the reports and the transfer rumor that has gone on this week, the Luis Suarez rumor is back with Inter Miami. And this week they said that Inter Miami actually they gave an offer to Barcelona in terms of getting Luis Suarez to come to Inter Miami, which you would think that actually might mean they're one step closer in terms of signing him. until you realize they basically did the same thing to pretty much most of those superstar European names that they've been linked with for the past years or so, and none of them has even came close to being a complete deal, and most of them actually was declined by the club that they sent the offer to. So, as I said many times before, whenever Inter Miami is linked with these European superstar player like Luis Suarez, I am not gonna believe it until I hear multiple sources that say the same thing, and that the deal, of course, is getting close. And probably I will not believe it until I actually see Luis Suarez physically go down to Miami and put his pen in the paper of that contract that he will play for Inter Miami. Because I just feel like this is just another move where they're trying to get the fan base excited, and maybe in some way the league decided to publish this article just to keep people kind of excited again about how he's going to be coming into the league. And then ultimately in a couple of weeks it's going to end in disappointment because we don't hear about this rumor anymore, or Barcelona might just downright say no to Inter Miami and that we are not going to sell him to MLS just yet. Now, one of the former Inter Miami target, Agustin Almendra from Boca Junior, is actually now linked with teams from the New York and LA markets, and I have a feeling Inter Miami is not going to go after Agustin Almendra, knowing the fact that he's, like many of the signings, one of those that was heavily linked with Inter Miami but never materialized. And I think since they got Rodolfo Pizarro, I don't think Inter Miami is going to get another good, decent midfielder. And especially, Inter Miami's biggest issue right now is goal scoring. And Agustin Almendra is a midfielder, and that I just feel like if you're gonna rely on your midfielder, and especially a young midfielder like him, to score the goals, that is usually not going to end up very well. So I feel like maybe that ship in terms of him potentially linked to Inter Miami has been way past now. But now he's actually linked with teams from the New York and LA markets. So teams like the Red Bulls, NYCFC, LAFC, and the Galaxy are linked with Agustin Almendra, and I'm pretty sure all of them want to get this guy. Like, I have heard some very good thing about this player, and that he could be one of those players that a lot of clubs are hoping he could be one of those hidden gems down in South America, and that they can potentially develop him and sell him off of a profit in the later time. But we shall see whether or not if that is going to be the case, and whether or not if one of these teams are going to probably pay a hefty price to Boca Junior to get him. I mean, we know that the Galaxy, when they got Christian Pavone, Boca Juniors were really demanding a lot of money to try to sell Pavone to the Galaxy, and eventually they just got that deal done. So if these clubs think it's going to be an easy way to get a Boca Junior player, yeah, definitely it's not going to be the case. And in my experience, in one of my team, I know Minnesota United, they've been linked with Emmanuel Reynoso, who is another Boca Junior player. And although I know that deal is getting very close to be done, and I'm hoping eventually it will get done, it has took like almost a year for that, since we've been rumored to get him, to now potentially right on the doorstep of actually completing. So yeah, if any of these teams thought it's going to be easy to negotiate with Boca Junior and to try to get a player like Agustin Almendra to come to their team, yeah, think again. It's going to be very, very tough. Now, Brenden Aaronson is actually now linked with Borussia Mönchengladbach, and that this is not a big surprise, the fact that Brenden Aaronson has been linked with a couple of these European team, and that one of those team is Borussia Mönchengladbach, and that I know the Union eventually is going to sell Brenden Aaronson to Europe. Whether if it's going to be this summer transfer window, I doubt it, because I feel like he could be spending in MLS maybe for about a year or two until he's kind of fully developed, that he is going to be ready to take the next step to go to Europe. And also, when they decided to sell him off to Europe, I wonder how much will the Union ask for those players or for those teams in Europe that is interested in Brenden Aaronson, because again, this is one of the most talented youngster in MLS, and probably one of the most talented homegrown product that the Union has been produced in their franchise history. So you would assume that they are going to ask a lot of money for these European names to try to sign him, and that they'll probably do something similar to what the Whitecaps did a couple of years ago when they asked Bayern Munich a lot of money to sign Alphonso Davies. And even though Bayern had to pay a lot of money to get Alphonso Davies, knowing how Davies has been with Bayern Munich and really becoming one of the hottest prospects in Europe, that seems like a bargain right now. That how Bayern Munich was able to only pay that amount of money to get Alphonso Davies away from the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, NYCFC actually have offer to Sporting Lisbon for their defender Luis Nito, but unfortunately that offer is reported to be rejected. Now, this is kind of interesting because NYCFC, I don't know why exactly they decided to sign a defender, consider they do have a couple of very decent defensive option, and defending is not a big issue for NYCFC. The biggest issue for NYCFC right now is goal scoring. So it's kind of odd that they decide to turn a defender that I know he's now 33 years old, and consider you have definitely younger option and some veteran player in that back line. That's kind of weird, the fact that they decide to sign a defender like that. But apparently their offer has been rejected, and I think we won't probably hear any more about this signing, because I really think NYCFC, coming out of this tournament, they clearly need some attacking option, consider they have not scored a lot of goals throughout this tournament, and that if they're going to be like that team that was last season, either Ronnie Delia need to think about the tactics and some of the ways that he's implemented the system to get the best out of the players, or it has to be they need to have some attacking talent, which they do, but maybe they need to add some more attacking power so that they can of course get to the next level and be like that team that was last season that finished first in the Eastern Conference. Now Dom Dwyer has unfortunately undergone knee surgery, and it's going to be set to miss 4 to 6 months for Orlando City. And I know it's going to be easy for people that's going to say serves him right in terms of him getting an injury to his knee that requires surgery after all those kind of harsh kind of play that he has done to an opponent, and that he tends to be one of the most physical, one of the most hated and dirty player in the league. But despite the fact that is the case, you never want to see a player suffer a knee injury that requires surgery, and that he's going to be out for 4 to 6 months because of that. So, I wish Dom Dwyer the best and certainly wish him a speedy recovery. But you also wonder, is this going to be the last time we're going to see Dom Dwyer in an Orlando City shirt when he comes back to this injury? Because it's clear that Dom Dwyer hasn't really been playing with Orlando City ever since Oscar Pereira has been there, and it seemed like he is definitely second favorite or even third favorite in terms of the depth chart of strikers in that Orlando City team, which means that some of the other clubs that might be snooping in to maybe get Dom Dwyer might maybe give Orlando City a call to see if they of course are gonna get him, because I think Orlando City, knowing how they've been doing in this tournament, I just doubt the fact that he's going to be with this team when he recover from this injury and play the next season, because until then there probably is going to be better option that Orlando City has in terms of that row, and he's just going to be left out and just kind of rot on the bench when he does come back with this team. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see when he does come back with this injury, will some other team call Orlando City and ring them up to be interested to get Dom Dwyer a try for their team. Another dirty player in the league, Kyle Beckerman, has been suspended an additional game for kicking the ball into the referee. And again, I know a lot of people are going to say that Kyle Beckerman kind of got off lightly, and that there should have been more than a game or two in terms so that this suspension. And in some way, I do think he kind of got off a little bit lightly, because anytime when you kick the ball into the ref, usually that's a minimum of a 2-game suspension. And I know from what I saw in this instant, it definitely didn't look like Beckerman was intentionally trying to kick the ball into the referee, and that it feels like he kind of just, when he kicked that ball, the referee was just in that perfect position that unfortunately he got hit with the ball. And that we also know that Kyle Beckerman did apologize to the referee after the red card was handed out. But as I said before, it doesn't matter if it's intentional or unintentional. Anytime when you kick the ball into the referee, usually that's going to be worthy of a lengthy suspension. And that he's very lucky, the fact that he only got out of 1 game out of this suspension. Now, keep in mind, when the season does restart, I wonder how this additional game is going to work, because I've heard that the red cards that these players get during the tournament, and that their team, of course, getting eliminated, it will not carry toward the regular season. So when the regular season does get back, does that mean he only have to serve 1 game suspension, or the fact that he's going to have to serve 2, and that red card is going to carry over to the regular season? I have no idea how that's going to work, but I guess we'll find out once we have any news of when exactly the regular season is going to be resumed after this tournament is over. But finally, in terms of the final news of this news of the week, Columbus Crew USL affiliate Crew 2 might be delaying their debut due to the coronavirus pandemic, which I don't think that's a big surprise. I mean, times when you see teams that are debuting in a new league during this pandemic, you know that most likely it's going to be delayed. Now, speaking of USL, and as I mentioned earlier in this video, yeah, they're having a lot of issue in terms of controlling this COVID-19, and there's been some strange things happen in these last couple of weeks ever since the league has restarted. I know there are a couple of LA Galaxy 2 players that has been tested positive for this virus. In fact, it's not just couple. There's actually 11 players on the LA Galaxy 2 squad that has been tested positive for the COVID-19. And some of the strange thing that I've seen is that last night I actually did watch the second half of that RGV Taros versus Tulsa game, and that game actually had a 3.5 hour lightning delay, and then the game was delayed again in the 42nd minute. And when they restarted play to play out the remaining of the first half and then go straight away into the second half, it was already 1:30 local time and was already 11:30 for my time. So you talk about the definition of USL after the dark. That was definitely the definition of USL after dark, and it's kind of unfortunate that we didn't see some crazy things happen in the remaining part of the game. Although the only thing that I noticed from that game is that for whatever reason, ESPN Plus decided to kind of just call it a night in the 70th minute and decided to not show the game for about 5 minutes. And as soon as the game is back on, Tulsa got the go-ahead goal, and yeah, we basically missed the go-ahead goal of that game. So I'm kind of a little bit disappointed that I wasn't able to see that, but that's what USL After the Dark, and pretty much what MLS After the Dark is all about, where you see some crazy things like that, of course happen, and that, you know, it's great to see some of those things that have happened, that it's kind of pure entertainment for fans to see those kind of action. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the news of the week. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the news on the board, and if there's any news that I didn't mention on the board, let me know in the comments below. And as I said yesterday, tomorrow I will do the video where I will lay out my proposal in terms of how the regular season is gonna restart, and then the following day I'm gonna do the preview of the semifinal. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.